Hello, hello, hello. Welcome all. Welcome all, and welcome to the Coach Dawn Allen podcast, sponsored by Stay Sexy Wellness. How's everybody doing this evening? How is everybody doing this evening or this morning, wherever you are hailing from? Not sure, but welcome. My name is Dawn Allen. I am the host, and it is sponsored by Stay Sexy Wellness, and this is episode number 87. 87, and welcome, and thank you for tuning in to celebrate Black History Month with us. And thank you. I've been enjoying this. I hope you have been enjoying these moments, Black History moments, because I have really had a good time. And I learned a lot of stuff. I didn't know a lot of these individuals, things happening. Or I did know some and didn't know a lot of information, but I kind of filled in some things that I didn't know. So I hope that I get value for the month of February. Even though it's almost over, I still enjoyed myself, and I hope you did as well. So this month, well, one more day left, I'll be sharing some Black History facts and some moments. So as we celebrate the outstanding contributions and achievements of African Americans in history and in culture and in the society. So this evening or this morning, wherever you are, we're going to talk about Walter White. Walter White. And I didn't know who Walter White was. I was like, who is Walter White? I didn't know. I'm not going to tell my story live. I didn't know. So Walter White was a um, American activist. Okay, he was born July 1st, 1893. July 1st, 1893. He was an American civil rights activist who led the National Association for the Advancement of Colored People, NAACP, for a quarter of a century, from 1929 to 1955. I'm like, oh, okay. So I'm like, okay, he's in AWCP. But there's more. But there's more. He did a lot more than this presidency. During his presidency, he did a lot of things that were very interesting. So Walter was the son of George and Madeline White. By that time, his father had attended Atlanta University, which is still today known as South Historically Black Colleges or HBCs. And he became a postal worker and he was admired in the community. He was admired in the federal government. His mom also went to the same institution and she became a teacher. Okay, now she had briefly married in 1893, and his the father's father died shortly after. So White attended Atlanta public schools. He finished high school in 1912, and he also went to college at Atlanta University. So while he was there, W.E. Du Bois was there at the time. He had left to New York prior to, but he had learned uh, they called it the old Atlanta University pioneers. He had left his research. He did a lot of research, and the students studied the curriculum that was based by W.E. Du Bois. His family belonged to a influential black Congregational church founded after the Civil War by free men and uh, Americans. And to belong to this church, it said membership in the first congregational was the ultimate status symbol in Atlanta. Now, White was of mixed race with African and European ancestry on both sides. Now, White appeared to be of European descent. He said, I am Negro. My skin is white, my eyes are blue, and my hair is blonde. So he said, the traits of my race are nowhere visible upon me. So you really couldn't tell that he was mixed. So he said 32, his great grandparents. Out of 32, out of his great grandparents, five were black and 27 were white. So most of them had blue eyes and blonde. For his mom. His mom also had blue eyes and was blonde hair. Let me tell you a little bit about his grandmother. His grandmother, her name was Marie Harrison. Okay, his grandmother. She was born a slave. Her mom was named, I think I'm saying Delcia. Now, Harrison was fathered by future President William Harris, Henry Harris. Now, his grandmother, it says here, okay? His grandmother was fathered, her father was President William Henry Harrison. Now, Harrison was the ninth president of the United States. He was one of the oldest elected presidents at age 67, and he died 32 days after being president. So he had the shortest tenure as the president of the United States. Hmm. I found it very, very interesting. So they had children together. So he felt that it wasn't, hmm, it didn't look good um, for him to have these brown children with an advantage, okay? To have these children, I had to call them bastard children, but I'm gonna say brown children, in the home. So he gave them to his brother. So they had six kids together. He gave four to the brother. I don't have to the other two kids, but he gave four to his brother. And they were sold and to a rich white man in LaGrange, Georgia. And no, they had four more children, and they were raised. They had a house, and they had wealth, so they were wealthy. So that was his grandmother. So and I found that very, very interesting. So even though he looked white, White and his family identified them as Negroes and lived among Atlanta's Negro community. Despite White and his siblings inheriting a little bit less than 16% African ancestry and being able to pass as white. So he was able to pass off as white, but he went off black. So his father was very strict with him. He was really hard, and he had very hard routine. So what he did was father would lock him in the room on Sundays to be sure he did his silent prayers. He had him read Dickens and all of those books. They said they had to be uh, any book less than 20. Who could not read any book that was less than 25 years old. Um, Now, when he was 8 years old, this changed his life right here. He was 8 years old. He threw a rock at a white child, and that he called him. The child called him a name, and he threw a rock at him. And he threw it because the child called him a name because White drank out of a fountain that was reserved for black people. So it says these events shaped White's self identity. He began to develop skills to pass for white, which he used later to preserve his safety as a civil rights activist in the South. Okay, now his career, just like his mom and dad, he went to Atlanta University, and that's where he studied some of the works of Du Bois. So he graduated in 1916 and got his first job at a Standard Life Insurance Company, which was one of the most successful businesses in Atlanta for Black people. So what he did in 1909, he started a chapter in Atlanta, and one of the things they did there, they were successful in getting the Atlanta School Board to support improving education for Black children who was taught in segregated schools. In 1918, he was invited by James Weldon Johnson, who was 25 at the time, to move to New York for him to work at the national headquarters. So he did, and he became the secretary assistant of the NAACP. And the boys and the other leaders, they were a little concerned over his youth, but at the end, it was to their advantage because White became an undercover agent in investigating lynching in the South, which were at the peak. With his keen investigation skills and his light complexion, White proved to be the NAACP's secret weapon against white mob violence. So that was, I'm like, wow, okay. So what he did, he passed off as white, finding both. He had to pass off as white so he'd be able to, for safety, to be in the hostile environment, and he gained free information. And at one time, he was involved with the Klan, so he was able to find information about the lynchings and the Little Rock, Arkansas um, events. So yeah, he had to use his color to help him help the positive things and negative things. So that throughout his career, Walter White spoke against segregation and segregation, desegregation, and discrimination, but also black nationalism. So in his investigations, okay, so let me stop here. In 1929, he became the president of the NAACP. One of his first order of business was the Scarborough trial. So what that was 9 boys fought some white boys, a white group of boys, um, and of course they were accused of raping some girls, and they got arrested. So the NAACP was sent, and also the American Community Party was also sent to represent the black community. So White had to also fight against the American Communist Party for the right to protect the boys and also help the boys in the trial. But he did squash. I won't say squash, but he did beat out the American Communist Party to help defend the boys. So that was one. That was his first trial, just being there, and a few weeks of work. So one of the things that he did investigate riots and lynchings because he was able to pass off as white. So it says through 1929, White would investigate 41 lynchings, 8 race riots, and 2 cases of widespread peonage, risking his life repeatedly backwaters of Florida, piney woods of Georgia, and the cotton fields of Arkansas. And I'm going to tell you about one of the it says the lynchings. He said it was 46 out of 50 lynchings during the first 6 months in 1919. Most of them were black victims. 10 of them were burned at the stake, and the survey said that it was all because they were of rape, rumored of rape. But it comes out the results wasn't true. Most of them was just prejudice and economic competition. Let me tell you about one of the race riots that he was involved in. He said that he did an investigation October 19th, and what it was it was these black sharecroppers, and they wanted to have a meeting about the sharecropper meetings. They want a meeting about organizing a union. So the white vigilantes didn't want that. So what they did was they got the guards and they threatened people. So what happened was somehow a white person was killed, and that was it. So the white militia had come to town and hunted down the black people and killed between 100 and 237 black sharecroppers. So what happened was White came down. He was as um, deputized, and he found out that he was told that, oh, okay, you can kill anybody you want to. Just the law is going to protect you. And he did an investigation and reported that in 1933, he was concerned that the lack of direction for his youth branches, and in 1935, the NAACP board voted to establish a new youth division for youth and college division. So he really also was into activism. He had did plenty of things, in his life for African American people, but also a few more things that he had accomplished. White oversaw the plan and organization structure of the fight against public segregation. He worked with President Henry S. Truman on desegregating the armed forces after World War II and gave him a draft for the executive order to implement this. Under White's leadership, the NAACP set up legal defense funds, which conducted numerous legal challenges to segregation and disfranchisement and achieved many successes. Among these was the Supreme Court determined that segregated, sorry, among these was the Supreme Court ruling in Brown versus Brown of the Education 1954, which determined that segregated education was inherently unequal. White also quadrupled NAACP membership to nearly 500,000. He also got other awards and honors. In 1927, he got the White achieved the Harmon Award for Distinguished Achievement Among Negroes for his book. In 1937, he awarded the Springard Award, medal by the NAACP for Outstanding Achievement by African American. In 2002, the Malifi Kate Asante listed Walter Francis White on his list of 100 greatest African Americans. In 2009, White was inducted into the Georgia Writers Hall of Fame. And at the age of 61, White died of a heart attack in New York on March 21st, 1955. So that was Black History Moment that I didn't know, but I'm glad. Hey, you live and learn. Every day you learn something new. I'm happy I learned something new today about Walter White, the president of the NAACP for 25 years. So I hope that you also learned something new this month, and I brought some value, some education to you this month. If I did, please drop the Z that you learned something, because I know I did. I did learn a lot. I'm happy that I did. I love Black history. I think I'm going to do this a little bit longer. I really enjoyed this. I really did. I hope that you did too. Do let me know. And if you want me to talk about anything tomorrow or anything else about Black history, please let me know. I'm really, really interested. I'm really having a great time with this Black History moment. I think I might just do a little bit more. Maybe we'll never know. I might do maybe once a week. I might just drop a name in there, or once a month. Because this is a really thing. It really shouldn't be Black History 28 days. It should be 365, 365 days a year. But we'll see. Well, that's all I have for tonight. I hope you enjoyed this evening's Black History moment with me. And I will see you tomorrow. My name is Coach Dawn Allen. Stay Sexy Wellness, that Coach Dawn Allen podcast. And I'll see you tomorrow. All things being equal. Goodbye for now.